So Manchester United have won 3 Premier League matches in a row, and there have been genuine signs of improvements over the past few weeks. Yesterday we discussed the fact that the side could potentially be evolving. Today what I want to focus on is the tactical flexibility shown from Ruben Amorim, because he has been changing his system without changing his formation. So let's start with the 4th of October, Manchester United's 2-0 win at home against Sunderland. In this match, United used a different approach to what we had seen in the weeks leading up to it. You see, Sunderland came to Old Trafford and would have expected to have been under pressure, but when they were trying to play the ball out from the back, they weren't. Manchester United sort of let them. This was the starting 11 for United on that day, and the likes of Mason Mount, Sesko and Mbeumo all tucked a little bit deeper. And actually what we often saw was United sort of lining up in a 4-4-2 mid-block. But what's more important is that we didn't get too much pressure on the ball. You can see in the early stages of the game, in the first 30 minutes, Sunderland actually only lost the ball once in their own half. And that's because of the fact that Manchester United weren't pressing high, United weren't squeezing high and weren't putting Sunderland under pressure. One of the other key themes of this match was the fact that Mason Mount brought a lot of balance to the side. We have seen United largely this season using Ahmad and Mbeumo down the right. In this match against Sunderland, Matheus Cunha was dropped from the starting 11, and I still believe that the reason for that was to use Mount on the left-hand side because he brings more balance to the team. He doesn't want to go and get the ball quite as much as what Cunha does, which means he tends to stick to his position more, which provides a greater balance for the side. It means that we can have these great attacking players on the right, but still have players occupying the left-hand side. You can see that in terms of Mount's heat map. He was very much playing down the left, which you don't always get with Cunha. But for United in this game, it was very important tactically to the way that we played, because we saw a lot of moments where United would use the ball down the left-hand side before then looking to switch it out to the far side, to the right-hand side, where we then had Mbeumo and Ahmad. Mbeumo and Ahmad, you can see it in their progressive carries in the game, were two players that were given the ball late, high up the pitch, before then being given the licence to attack the Sunderland defence. And tactically, that was very important. United building up down the left-hand side, yes, of course, the right-hand side sometimes as well, but using the left-hand side and then working the ball towards Mbeumo and Ahmad. And I would say this was the first match where we started to see these two really start clicking with each other and starting to play well. By the way, there's going to be a lot of different data used in this video. If you want to get access to it yourself, then head to the link in the description down below and head to xgstat.com, where if you use code AJA50, you get 50% off your first month's membership, which is a really, really good offer, so make sure to use the link in the description. Now, the next match was Manchester United's 2-1 away win against Liverpool on the 19th of October. And the big team news was the fact that Benjamin Sesko and Lenny Yoro did not start the game, which sort of shocked us all a little bit and made us all rather nervous about what we were going to watch. Of course, what we watched was a very, very direct Manchester United team, a team that didn't look to play out from the back once. Literally every single ball went long. If you look at United's passing network from the game, it's pretty much exclusively Lomans long towards the forward players. But if you remember, what was interesting in this game was that United approached it differently. What we've seen in the past is us going long to Benjamin Sesko, using him as a focal point in the air. In this game, we dropped him to play the two most physical centre-backs in the league, and instead went for Cunha, who didn't even contest the first ball. United was sending the ball long all the time, but we didn't actually try and go win it. Instead, what we relied upon was the second ball. And actually, it was a stroke of genius from Ruben Amorim, and it was him adjusting, not playing a striker that was going to go and fight the centre-backs, but instead playing a striker who was going to help with the second balls. And you can see United's recoveries in this game. A lot of them came in the middle of the pitch, sort of after that second ball had dropped. And it allowed United really effectively to get up the pitch quite quickly without even facing up against the Liverpool centre-backs. The other thing that I found really interesting in this match was United's defensive approach. Again, we were very passive. We didn't use much of a high press at all. We didn't go after Liverpool. We sat off in more of a mid-block shape. And you guys will remember the sort of pass that we were trying to invite from the opposition. So Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro were playing really close together to stop that sort of squeezed ball through the lines. But what we were inviting was the slightly more diagonal pass into the half space. Normally we wouldn't want to invite this onto ourselves, but I think the reason we did this was for the likes of De Ligt and Luke Shaw to then be aggressive. And this was sort of perhaps the start of a turn in the Manchester United defence, which we'll get to shortly. But this was interesting from United. This was a very different approach. We don't normally see this. We don't normally see United sort of intentionally, actively inviting the pass into those zones. And when we do, we don't tend to see the centre-backs so aggressive. But De Ligt was incredibly aggressive on McAllister, and Luke Shaw followed Isak all over the pitch in these zones here. Every time Isak made a little movement, Shaw went with him, still staying in his lane, as each of the centre-backs did, but that was enough for United to be very compact, and Liverpool just couldn't break United down. Now, the third consecutive victory for United came on the 25th of October last weekend at Old Trafford against Brighton in a 4-2 win for United. And once again, we saw a tactical flip. In the first two games, we've seen a passive United side that didn't really press. Suddenly, Brighton came to Old Trafford, and United were one of the most intense teams that I have seen this season, squeezing incredibly high up the pitch, trying to apply pressure to the ball. And we sort of did this initially in a bit of a 4-4-2 shape, which I have done the wrong way around. So here we go. So Cunha comes into the 11 instead of Mason Mount, and we also saw Lenny Yoro back in the side for Harry Maguire. More intensity, more physicality, more ability to sort of get about the pitch, more mobility. So United go to the 4-4-2 shape and suddenly are playing a squeezing, high-pressing football with a particular aim of getting high up the pitch, getting Bruno high up the pitch in support of the press. And the only reason why United were able to do this was because Luke Shaw was now incredibly aggressive. Against Liverpool, we saw him aggressive over here. Against Brighton, we saw him aggressive over here. But also over here. He literally followed him everywhere. This week, he didn't stay in his own lane. He actually went all over the pitch to try and follow the Brighton player. This allowed Bruno to squeeze a little bit higher, and it allowed United to press cohesively as a unit. And we can see in this match just how many times Brighton lost the ball in their own half. They were pretty much giving it away for fun. Now, from a more attacking point of view, the other interesting thing about this game was the way that United looked to attack Brighton, particularly trying to progress the ball through the centre, yes, but actually trying to overload the wide zones, particularly with Ahmad and Mbumo trying to get at the Brighton left back. We said against Sunderland, we started to see these two clicking. That went to another level against Brighton. These two were really starting to synergise, really working well together. We, of course, also saw Cunha. And if you cast your mind back, the Sunderland game, we said Mason Mount plays, and he plays on the left-hand side to provide balance. Cunha plays, and he gives you overloads. This is where Manchester United can use different players to adapt to different football matches. With Cunha, we were able to overload this part of the pitch. We were able to get Bruno Fernandes involved as well. Even Lenny Yoro was stepping forward. United had a lot of players in the wide zone. You can see that in terms of the percentages of where we progressed the ball. We were looking for the wide areas as much as possible, and that's because we had so many players in this position. And again, it came because we adapted. We got Cunha into the starting 11 to join the attack over here, while Sesko sort of occupied the centre-backs. Now, for all of these differences and tactical tweaks that we have seen from game to game, there have also been things that have been quite similar. For example, in each game, Lommans has played very direct with his passing. He's not played too many short passes at all. He's been getting the ball very, very direct. We are also yet to see United control or dominate possession in any of the last three games. And I guess that would lead to questions of sustainability, whether or not United can actually keep this up over, a longer time frame. However, on the flip side of that, there are other things that have been good that we can build upon. The Manchester United forwards have been involved in a lot of goals over the past three games. They've popped up with big moments, and that's definitely something that we can build on moving forward. We've also seen a more compact Manchester United team, a team that feels closer together. It feels like it goes together. It's more connected. If the forwards go in the press, the back line comes with them, and vice versa when we need to sit off. And those are definitely things that we can build on in the long term. And it's interesting to see that pattern of things that are changing week to week, but also those things that almost remain there as our underlying base. Now, I think the most important point from today's video is the point of adaptability and flexibility. A lot of people will say that Ruben Amorim hasn't changed, and in a sense, they're not wrong. It is still a 3-4-3 that we set up with. But the point is, on a game-to-game basis, Ruben Amorim has used a different approach, a different system, a different idea, perhaps a different philosophy as well. We've seen, yes, in a lot of games, a long ball approach, but defensively, we've sort of tweaked quite a lot. We've gone from sitting very deep, absorbing pressure against Sunderland and Liverpool, to suddenly against Brighton playing on the front foot. And that's because the game required something different. We've also seen different selections in the front line. Granted, a potential injury to Mount also plays into it as well. But in the first game, we saw Mount in the team providing balance for us on the left-hand side. In the last game, we saw Cunha on the left, but actually largely playing on the right to help overload the pitch. We've also seen changes between Cunha and Sesko up front, depending on what sort of game we want to play. And that is crucial. If any manager wants to be successful anywhere, they need to have their own ideas, absolutely, but they need to be able to adapt depending on the opposition that you are playing. You need to find weaknesses in the opposition and then make changes to hurt them. And Ruben Amorim has done that over the past three games. Yes, it's been a little bit back to basics in a sense, but there are also signs of things that we can build upon, which is what we've been asking for. I'm not asking for perfection from Ruben Amorim. A month ago, I said I was unsure about him, and what he needed to do was prove that he could adapt to get results, and he has done that. It'll be interesting to see how we adapt further, how we go back to applying his ideas as well. That'll be very interesting to see. But right now, United are positive, and it's because we are getting the best out of the players by getting them into good positions, scoring more goals, and also defending in a more compact manner. So it's positive, so we're going to leave it there, on the positive, on the high. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like, subscribe, and get your notifications on. But apart from that, we're finished, so I'll see you in the next one.